But the cash flow quadrant is E stands for what? Who knows? Employee, right? Employee. Terry, what does the S stand for?
Self-employment.
Self-employed. Self-employed. And as a realtor, you're probably here if you're still transacting business. All right. B is business owner, big business owner, meaning that you own a business that you don't have to show up to every day and it produces income. Other people are doing the work. And then I is investor. And it's so funny because if you listen to Robert Kiyosaki's story, he goes from employee to self-employed to business owner to investor. So he traveled through all of these. He worked for Xerox, remember? He was in Vietnam. He flew planes in Vietnam, went to work for Xerox, and then used his income from Xerox to fund his Life by Design, which you can do here. You use this income to fund your Life by Design. All right. So the first video I'm going to play, and I love this video because he explains it way better than I do. I'm going to share my screen, and I would like for all of you to submit a little prayer that this is going to work. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. I'm going to go to here. And do all of you see the video with Robert Kiyosaki? Oh, wait a minute. No, not yet. Do all of you see the video with Robert Kiyosaki? He's got a cross on his, I'm seeing heads. Okay, good. So now I'm going to start playing it. And what I'd like for you guys to do is to help me and give me a thumbs up if you can hear it. And right now on my screen, I can only see Lou, Diane, Lisa, and Amy. So if you guys could give me a thumbs up if you can hear this as well. Let me make sure my sound is up, and here we go.
And the quadrant is made up of the 4 different people who make up the world of business. So my rich dad said, in the world of business, there's E's, and E's stand for employees. An employee, he says, you can always tell who they are by their core values and what they employ.
Oop.
Whether the president or the janitor of the company will always say the same words. The words are, I'm looking for a safe, secure job with benefits. That's what makes them an employee.
What I would do to get the most out of this, guys, is I would draw this up and put the E, S, B, and I, and then you can write little notes next to what Robert Kiyosaki is saying.
Because their core values are security. The other one of the 4 is the S, or the small business owner or the self-employed. And again, their core values will cause them to use the same words, which are, if you want it done right, do it by yourself. S means they're also solo. They're generally one-person act, or they operate by themselves. On the right side of the quadrant are the B's. And what Rich Dad said the B stood for was big business, or like Bill Gates. Forbes defines big business as 500 employees or more. And their words are different. They say, I'm looking for a good system, a good network, and the smartest people I know to help run my business. So they're unlike the S. They don't want to run the company by themselves. They want smart people to run their companies for them. And then the 4th of the quadrant is the I, and I stands for investor. These are people who have money work hard for them. These people are people who have people work hard for them. And these are the people that work hard for the rich. So early on in my life, it was my poor dad who always said to me, you know, Robert, go to school so you get a high-paying job. And so my poor dad's core value was to be an employee. He wanted job security, promotions, a steady paycheck, and all this. And so it was my rich dad who said to me, he says, you know, Robert, if you really want to be rich, learn to build businesses. It made more sense to him to work hard to build a business, something you own and something you can pass on for generation to generation to your kids. Whereas my poor dad said work hard, but my rich dad said, why would you work hard for something you'll never own and you get fired from right away? Again, that was a difference in values. So my rich dad suggested I learn how to be a business owner and learn how to be an investor. And that's one of the big differences. On this side of the quadrant, these people here work for security. They work for money also. On this side over here, their key value that they want is they want freedom. work at a job anymore. They don't want to have to work for the rest of their lives. So the beauty of building a business and learning how to invest is very simply that this is passive income. You work hard for a few years, but possibly for the rest of your life, income keeps flowing to you. One of the reasons I consider a direct selling business a perfect business is very simple.
Okay, so ahas from that. I'm going to stop share for a second because we do have a second video that we're going to watch, but I'd love to hear some ahas from that if you have them. What are some ahas? Take yourself off mute and just kind of say, hey, this is a different thought or different ahas. Here's one I'll give you, right, that I had, is that I listened to actually another video. And in the other video, I want you to write this down. In the 40s, and again, this is important for you guys to know, is that in the 1940s is when the first income tax was put into play. The first income tax was put into play in the 1940s to tax income. All right. So before that, there was no taxable income. There also, government was very small. If you served in government, you served people. You didn't get rich. You served people, and there weren't government programs, right? Communities took care of each other. There were all these different, it's just a different way of life, right? But in the 1940s, income tax was put into play. Why? Because the government went through a tremendous amount of spending during the Great Depression, right? And so the government was underwater. Well, guess what? We started taxing the income of people, and we've never been out from underwater. We've become more in debt, right? So then what happened is we talk about the rich figure out, people who think about money differently, they figure out how to not pay taxes, because really taxes is what keeps people poor, right? Debt and taxes. You can look at that from a perspective of it can keep you poor, but there's a video I'll share with you from Robert Kiyosaki. Actually, I'm going to share it in a minute, where you can also use those same things, debt and taxes, to make money. So what people figured out is that, okay, I'm going to become self-employed, because when I become self-employed, guess what happens? I don't get taxed because I don't work for a company. I work for myself. So I don't have to pay tax. So small businesses were thriving, blah, blah, blah. Well, then they began getting taxed as well. And actually what you're going to hear from Robert Kiyosaki, I think in the next video, is that this person who is self-employed pays the highest amount of taxes. The highest amount of taxes. So if any of you get a 1099 at the end of the year, who gets a 1099 at the end of the year? Congratulations, you're paying the highest tax of anyone in the country. Okay? Now, how do you stop doing this? Well, the way that you stop doing this is you move this money into this and then into this. And that's what Rich Dad, Poor Dad is about. One of the things I was listening this morning, if you haven't listened to it, go to Gary Keller's Think Like a CEO podcast and listen to the podcast. The 7, oh my goodness, it just flew out of my head. It's the last podcast he did, the 7 things that stand between you and wealth. All right. And one of the things that he talks about there is the fact that when we get into a mindset of just working for ourselves and not investing and learning, we become less impactful as a realtor. What does he mean by that? Well, how many of you tell people that real estate is the best investment that you can make? Raise your hand. When as a realtor, when you're selling, don't you talk to your clients and customers about real estate being a great investment? Right? Right? Yeah. How many of you own real estate as an investment? Isn't that an aha? Do we really believe it? Now the question is some of us may believe it, but we don't know how to get there. And that's what this is about, taking the steps to get there. You know, I spoke at a women's realtor council Women's Council of Real Estate, and I said to them, I said, look, if you want to attract more high net worth clients to you, become a high net worth advocate. What I mean by that is learn their language. Those are high net worth clients are wealthy people, rich people. They've mastered this side of the quadrant. If you learn to master this side of the quadrant, even in the way that you speak, even though in your personal finance, you might not be there yet, you're going to attract those people to you, and they're going to begin trusting you to work with their money, right? Because you understand it. That's why you're here. This is taking real estate to the next level. It's not about selling real estate and what the real estate commission can do for you. It's about what does real estate do for me to get me to this side of the quadrant, and how can I leverage it? And that might be through a commission, or it might be through your own purchase and sell of real estate, or as a landlord, right? Think differently. Ask yourself different questions. All right. So that was what Gary said, and I thought that was great. So over here, he's saying, if you own a business, others work hard for me. So in real estate, Gary Keller wrote the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, back in the late 90s. And he talked about building real estate agents, building a team. When you become a real estate agent and you want to do more business and you want to get out of the day-to-day yourself, you might consider building a team. And if you build a team, others work hard for you, right? Now, you know, and again, I can go on for days about a team. You know, when others work hard for you, you can't expect them to work hard for you for the rest of their life. They're eventually going to go do their own thing, or they're going to do something different, or maybe they'll stay right there because it's comfortable and that's what they want to do. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the outcome is of those team members that you get. You're running it like a business, which means that you're going to have people that are going to come and move on, and you're going to have people that are going to come and move up. At the end of the day, you still have others working hard for you. And then your money works hard for you, because then you take and you invest. All right. So I want to go to the next video. Is that clear? Do you guys get that? So I was talking to my husband about this morning, and he works for FedEx. He's been in the shipping and transportation industry for 30 years. I've been in the real estate business for almost 30 years. I have a master's degree in real estate. 30 years, I've kind of gotten that, right? My husband has got a master's degree in transportation and shipping. Like, you can ask him anything about anything when it comes to China and shipping and brokering and all this other stuff, and he gets it. We now have to develop a master's degree in this. And how many hours does it take to develop mastery? What does Gary Keller tell us? 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours of listening to books and listening to YouTube and looking at the market and driving the market, right? But one of the things Robert Kiyosaki says in this next video that I love is, he said, there is no bad and good market. There's opportunity in every market. That's the way the wealthy think. And so we're in what people would say is a great market right now. But if you're just getting into real estate, is it a great market? No. Not for many new agents, because they can't find listings. They've not been in the business. It's hard. They don't know how to win in a multiple offer situation, right? It's challenging. So your perspective of a good and bad market is from the stripe on the beach ball where you're sitting, right? It's your perspective. All right, I'm going to go into this next one. This one I'd really like for you guys to
because
take some notes on, because this one is, be quiet. I don't want to hear about you anymore. So I'm going to go to the next one, which is this one. This is a rich versus poor mindset. Now, here's what I'm going to apologize to you for. There is a commercial that will pop in the middle of this, and I'm going to delete it as soon as it'll let me, and then it'll move on. But this is so good. I could not show it. You guys ready? Get your pen and paper out because you're going to want to take some notes. I promise. I've actually listened to this. Let's see, when you share screen, you can share computer audio as well. Okay, you're really, I have no idea how to do that. So let me go to share screen. Oh, share sound. Thank you, Terry. I appreciate you. All right, can you guys see Robert Kiyosaki now? Okay, now give me a thumbs up if you can hear. Here I go.
Obsolete idea is go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt, and invest for the long term in the stock market. See, why would you save money when they're printing trillions of dollars? The gap between the 1% and 99% is massive. You see, it's not just money. You have to step back and look at the bigger picture.
So what do you do?
In every one of us is a poor person. There's still a poor person inside me. There's also a middle class person, and the middle class person wants security. They want that steady paycheck. And there's a rich person. And they're all inside of us, except that it's not taught. You're taught to go to school, get a job, and get a paycheck. You're not taught to how to get rich. If you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, my rich dad refused to pay me. He said the paycheck was one of the most damaging things you could take in your life. He says the moment you take a paycheck, you're an employee, and that's the mindset. So my rich dad never paid me. It drove my poor dad, government employee, nuts. You gotta pay people, you gotta pay people. And Rich Dad was not saying that the paycheck was bad. He says you didn't want to be a slave to money. So as an entrepreneur, if Rich Dad folded, I just started another company. I don't need a paycheck. I don't need anybody to take care of me. If my government doesn't like me, I move to another country because they need entrepreneurs there. So the entrepreneur is not so much the business. The entrepreneur is really the mindset and the skill sets and the different set of rules. You see, I don't operate, small business does not operate in the same rules as big business. Entrepreneur is a mindset first, a skill set, and rules. And depending upon whether you're an employee or a small business, the rules are different. The mindsets are different. The skill sets are different.
If you could say one thing to somebody who's never been an entrepreneur and they're thinking about making the leap of faith into becoming an entrepreneur, what could you tell them?
Okay. Hold on.
Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki,
This is the
and
one
we'll
I'm
talk to you
gonna
about an
get started.
opportunity to learn to be an entrepreneur on the
Skip ads. That's the last one.
Well, I'll just tell them the same thing that happened to me. My last paycheck, I still remember it clearly. It was one of the worst and the best days of my life. And I was in Puerto Rico. I was working for Xerox, and my boss gave me my last, it wasn't a paycheck, it was a bonus check. I think it was about $30,000 taxable. It's the only problem with that. So I got this check and I went, holy mackerel. You know what I mean? So I was excited, but I was also disturbed. And so this other guy comes up to me, his name was John, and John says to me, he says, you're going to be back. I said, why? He says, because you're going to fail. I looked at him and said, look, few expletive words, because that's what he did. He left Xerox, failed, and he came back. And I said, look, you failed and you came back, but I'm going to fail and I'm never coming back. And that's the attitude. Do you know what I mean? If you say, well, if I fail, I'll go back to mommy and daddy, then that's what you'll do. So if you fail, that's when I became an entrepreneur, because I had no money. I had no money for years. I didn't have a paycheck. But that's what my rich dad encouraged me to do. He says, when you don't have this paycheck, you get hungrier, smarter, and it's a test of your character. Will you become a crook? Will you become dishonest? Will you cheat and steal? Or will you become a better human being? So really, that's the benefit of becoming an entrepreneur, is you really find out who you are when you don't have anything. So you always have to look at the big picture. Too many people look at, well, what's going to happen to me? When you look at the big picture, you're also going to know that when something bad happens, something good's going to happen. but you got to prepare for whatever is coming. If you think next 20 years will be like the last 20 years, you're going to get creamed. You know, when you and I go to the supermarket and we buy a carton of milk, we always check for the expiration date. But most people do not check for the expiration date on their brains. Instead of get out of debt, I get into debt. You know, I just refinanced $300 million in debt. I went from 5% to 2.5% interest. I made a fortune. Every month, more money comes in because my cost of money has gone down. So while some financial experts are saying get out of debt, I'm saying learn how to use debt. So when I came back from in Vietnam in January of '73, the first thing my rich dad said to me was go to school to learn how to invest in real estate. It wasn't real estate, it was how to use debt and taxes. Debt and taxes make the rich richer. Debt and taxes make the poor and middle class poor. So all the rich guys who are doctors and lawyers or, you know, those guys, they're getting creamed and they don't know why.
Doctors are getting creamed.
Oh yeah, they're making more money, but the take home is less.
Sure.
You know, my doctor just yelled at me. He was happy. He says, "Oh, guess what? I finally made $1 million." And I said, "Yeah, this was just 3 weeks ago." And so I said, "Yeah, well, how much you pay in tax?" He says, $750,000 in taxes. So his net was about $400,000. That's not bad. But when I make $1 million, I keep $1 million. And the reason is because I don't make it by working for money. See, if you work for money, you're taxed. So that's why lesson number 1 in Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the rich don't work for money.
How about that? How about that? How about that?
Can you share that link, like that
Yep,
video link?
I will.
Thank you.
And we wonder why healthcare is so high. Think about how much a doctor's student loan bill is to pay for that. To be a doctor, and they're making $1 million and they're only keeping 400 of it. Ouch. Ouch. Here it is. Okay, so what are your ahas?
A paycheck.
You need to stop paying so much taxes.
I love it, Amy. I gotta stop paying so much taxes. Yes, and there's a way to do that, right?
I got a plan. I'm working on it. The 4 squares. I'm in the first square, but the second square, kind of. I'm in between, but it's all right. I have a plan. He's hoping.
Here's the thing I'll tell you, Amy, is that once you know something, you can't unknow it. And so by opening yourself up to this different train of thought, I'm not saying Robert Kiyosaki's right. I subscribe to Robert Kiyosaki, and you want to know why I do? Because I know a lot of people, not a lot, I know a few people who used to be in the E square part of the square that are now on the other side of the quadrant by following and listening to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Richest Man in Babylon, Think and Grow Rich. By listening to those things, and they've changed their mindset and they've moved over to the other side of the quadrant, right? And so here's the question I would want to ask you guys. You got 2 minutes left. And I know I keep talking about the people that you surround yourself with, but in the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, on the last page, it's the last page of this book. It's the very last page. One of the things that he has us go through is he asks us to write down about your environment. The 6 adults I spend the most time with are, write their name and what quadrant they're in. So are they employed? Are they in the E? Are they in the S? Are they in the B? Or are they in the I? Now, you don't always have to go through the B to get to the I, right? You could go E, you could be in the S and move over to this and get freedom that way. That's what we talk about, the freedom number. Like Robert Kiyosaki went through building a big business, and then you don't have to do that. Like right now, my husband and I are focused on going from the E to the I and the S to the I, right? We're not really playing in this space yet. We might, but we might not, right? We may just use our brains and our understanding of cash flow to go from E to I and S to I so that we're in this quadrant, right? So, but who are you spending the most time with? And that's where you are right now, right? In most cases, if that's the people that you spend the most time with. So what Gary Keller tells us, and it's 9 o'clock, so I'm gonna go, but he tells us that when anything we want in life, whether it's a big business, whether it's more cash, whether it's to have more, sell more real estate, whether it's to lose 50 pounds, whether it's to get in shape and drop, 5% body fat, what if we want to learn how to do movie star makeup, right? Or whatever it is, you're missing one or two things to learn how to do that at a high level. You're missing a system or a person or both. So there's books out there to give you the system, but who are the people in your world that are helping to make you smarter in this? Like my guy is Adrian Sabatino. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The reason I came to Keller Williams Naples, and everybody knows this. Well, one, I wanted to be in the sun, but I could have been in the sun in any state, right? Lower, below Virginia. I came here because I wanted to be connected to Adrian because this guy is smart about this stuff. And not only is he smart about it, he does it on a daily basis. So who's your who, right? That can lead you through this. And secondly, from that video, and I just shared it. I shared the video in the chat box, the YouTube video for this, because there's another 6 minutes that I didn't play that is very, very good. But a couple of things ahas that I had before we go. Entrepreneur is about mindset first, skill set and rules. Mindset first, skill set and rules, right? You become rich by knowing how to use debt and taxes to get rich. You can also use debt and taxes to get poor, right? So you have to understand how to use this to get rich. And this video goes into it even more. And becoming an entrepreneur is a test of character. It's a test of your character. And so you prepare for what's coming now in the future. If you are focused on today, I would challenge that you are in the wrong space. What you're doing today is what you should have been focused on 6 months ago, what you're doing today. You should be looking now into 6 months and a year from now, and what you're learning, the processes you're putting in place, and the people that you're surrounding yourself with is for where you want to be in a year. Okay? Where you want your business to be in a year. It's forward thinking. Now, if you're not there with this stuff, here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to say, oh my gosh, and just like get off of this call and say, forget about it, I'm moving on. We all have to start somewhere. It's little teeny steps, and knowing what your little next step is, Now me, I go big. It's just my personality. It drives my husband crazy. Oh, to be married to me, he's got the patience of Job. But I go big, right? You do what you feel comfortable with, but might make you a teeny bit uncomfortable, right? Get used to that uncomfortable space. Remember the key thing. Don't buy a property in the hopes that that you're going to make money on it later because it increases in value. That's speculating, and speculating is dangerous. Buy property that if you had to sell it tomorrow, you would make a profit on it tomorrow. To me, that's the first key. You ask yourself that question. Is there something special about this property? Could I sell it tomorrow for a profit? Will it cash flow at X amount? Right? That's what I'm focused on right now. That's the little thing that I'm learning. All right. Has this been helpful, guys? Has this changed your thought process? Has this shifted your mindset? All right, next week, we're not going to talk about this kind of stuff. I'm gonna come on with real estate. I've been doing a lot of listening and reading and listening to future real estate trends and what we're going to need to look at in the next year to 18 months and how the landscape might change. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how investing might change. We're going to kind of keep it high level. We're also going to talk about mindset and time and those things that we go through on a daily basis internally. What are our emotions around it? We're just going to kind of keep the playing field open next week. And then the week after, we're moving into Profit First. And the book looks like this. Hold on one second. Give me a moment. The book looks like this. Profit First. Profit First. Okay, Mike Michalowicz. It's a great book, and it's going to talk about how to pay yourself first before you pay your bills. We're going to move into that, guys. And my hope is that by the end of this year, you have all taken your first steps into building your financial wealth to get to your freedom number. Do you know what your freedom number is yet? Raise your hand. If you don't, call me. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, have an amazing Thursday. I'll see you on Monday. No Limitless tomorrow. Talk to you soon. Love you guys. Mwah. Bye.